Hello, this is Guard Whitey and welcome to another Streetball All-Star video. Alright guys, today we're gonna be doing a breakdown of the very powerful yet underused point guard BoA. Let's get into it. Alright, so firstly let's talk about what BoA is. What does she actually do? So BoA is a point guard who specializes in defense. With a specific set of skills. She actually specializes not only on stealing the ball, but also on recovery defense. So we'll talk about that some more later. But for now, let's go ahead and look into his stats. So as you can see here, BoA has a pretty decent spread in stats. So at 3 points, we have 58, 58 3-pointer. That's actually decent enough. It's not really the highest, but that's actually, pretty decent for a point guard. 63 mid-range, that's actually really good for a point guard. That's one of the higher mid-range statistic for any point guard. And it does make sense once we look into her skills, but yeah, 63, that's pretty good. 44 close shot, about as bad as you'd expect from a point guard. 30 dunk, not that good. But she has 64 steal, one of the highest in the game. That's one of the specialties that BoA actually has. It's from stealing the ball, and she has 64 steal stat, which is pretty good. She's got 51 dribble. That's about the normal amount that you get for point guard. Pretty high, but for a point guard, yeah. So 64 pass, that's a very good, very decent pass as well. 70 speed, very good speed, and again, this is actually true. 70 speed here shown. BoA definitely is a fast point guard, and the rest are not that good. 20 jump, 26 rebound, 35 block, and 25 power. Very bad for but they are point guards, so that makes sense. So yeah, with the stats that's been shown here, I'd say that the best build or the best stat that you can give BoA is to just give her max speed. Just focus on her speed, because BoA's going to be a very defensive character. She's not going to be your scorer. She's not going to be a pick and roll character. She's going to be doing defense and just passing most of the time, so giving her speed is going to give her the best advantage when it comes to actually doing defense. So yeah, I'd say just give her max 3 and maybe some steal as well, and maybe some mid-range just to help her out a little bit. But yeah, what you're really going to want to focus on is giving BoA speed. So with that, guys, let's go ahead and look into her different skills. So looking here at BoA's skills, it's actually a decent spread. There are some unique stuff here as well, so let's go ahead and look into it. So firstly, we have quick fill-in. All point guards have this. It's not mandatory, but it is pretty useful to have. It's nice to have the skill on your skill set. Again, not mandatory, but it definitely helps on defense, so if you want to get it, feel free to get it. Again, not mandatory, but it's nice to have. So next up, we have an exclusive, actually. So this is her first exclusive skill. It's a fadeaway mid shot. Not all point guards have this. It's unique to BoA. It's not really the hardest shot to stop, and it's not really the most accurate either, but after the buff to its accuracy, it's definitely a little bit more usable. I still don't recommend actually using this that much, especially if you're being defended by someone who is good at defending shots. But if you are free at using this, if you have enough space, feel free to use it, since after the buff it actually is more accurate now. So not really needed, not really mandatory to have this, but if you do, that's fine as well. It's a fine skill to have. So next up, dive, the most important skill for any point guards. Make sure to max this out and get this as soon as possible. Nothing much is needed to be said here. So next up is bounce pass. Again, another skill that all point guards have. It just makes it so that you know, the enemy point guard can intercept or proactive intercept your passes if this activates. Very useful skill to have. Not mandatory, but I'd say I do recommend getting this skill as well. So next up, we have her first level 4 ability, Pinpoint Pass. Basically means that you can't actually throw out bad passes ever. And yes, I mean ever. Just go on a from far away, just go further away from your teammates at any distance and pass it from far away. It's always going to be a direct pass to your teammates. Make sure to have this, make sure to get this as soon as possible and max it out as soon as possible as well. Very, very useful skill. One of the best skills in the entire game. Make sure to get Pinpoint Pass. So next up is her other level 4 skill, Diving Steal. And this is what makes her such a great defender. To be more exact, this is what makes her such a good recovery defender, because not only can this ability or skill make you steal more accurately, gives you an unique skill or unique diving ability, a unique steal ability, but it also helps you out on defense, since it acts like a mini boost for you to actually go and stop your opponents from shooting the ball. You can dive towards the scorer even if they're far away. If you catch it, you can just make sure that their shots will always be contested, and this is why BoA is very good when you're dealing with pick and roll. You know, you're not gonna have to worry about always helping out, or the big is not gonna need to worry about always needing to help out BoA. BoA can hold on her own for a little bit longer than others. So Diving Steal, very, very important skill. One of BoA's most important skills, definitely. So you need to make sure that you get this skill and max it out as soon as you can as well. So lastly, we have Upspring. Basically, this skill makes it so that if you get your ankles broken, or if you're dribbling and you bump into someone, it's going to be faster for you to actually recover and to actually get back to moving. It's not really mandatory, but I'd say it is very much worth it to actually get this. It does help out, especially with the Diving Steal on recovery defense. Again, this makes her very good at recovery defense as well, so I'd say make sure to get this one as well. Not mandatory, but in my opinion, you should get this one as well. So yeah, as you saw, BoA has a very unique spread of abilities, mostly for defense as well. Yeah, I'd say BoA, very, very good point guard right now. So let's go ahead and look into a match where we use some of these skills, and let's talk about BoA some more. Right, so firstly, let's talk about the characters that you're actually gonna want to team up with when you use BoA. And like Nana, BoA is actually very, and I mean very good, very stretchable when it comes to actually playing with characters. Yes, she's not exactly a scorer, but she actually pretty much fits onto most strategies. The only strategy that I don't really recommend is playing with Silverwolf or with Alan, you know, Butterball, those characters who rely on other characters to actually score. That's where BoA won't actually be as effective, but pretty much every other strategies that you're gonna use, every other characters that you're gonna play with BoA, they're gonna be very effective. With BoA, you're going to want to team up with a proper center and a scorer. And yeah, you're pretty much set with that. You know, she works with a lot of characters, most strategies BoA can work with. But, you know, just try and avoid those strategies that require the point guard to actually score, and you'll be just fine. Next up, we're going to talk about the matchups that you're gonna want to get or avoid with BoA. And honestly, like Neck or Nana again, you're not actually gonna want to fight a certain strategy or avoid a certain matchup, you know? You are pretty much gonna do just fine with any strategies that you might actually face against. As long as you know what you're doing, as long as you're doing your job as BoA, you're still gonna see success, you know? Whether you be fighting dunks spam, whether you be fighting shooting or ISO pick and roll, whether you be fighting those kinds of strategies, you're gonna do just fine. And just as long as you know what you're doing and you're doing your job as BoA. Again, your job as BoA is actually stealing the ball and just passing to your teammates as much as possible, and maybe here and there shooting some good shots with that fadeaway mid-range. So yeah, there's not really a matchup that you're gonna want to avoid or get in particular. And lastly, let's talk about BoA in terms of meta. And honestly, BoA isn't exactly meta, but at the same time she is. So what I'm trying to say is BoA is actually a very good point guard. She is a very powerful point guard. If you use her correctly, you're gonna see a lot of success with her. And with, again, her stretch ability and you know, being effective with any strategy that you actually play with, she is a very, very good point guard to have as a backup or as your main point guard. You know, I'd say she is just very underused or underutilized by players who aren't exactly on the highest tier. They tend to avoid BoA for some reason, and you know, I'd say that's just a bad idea. If you do have access to her, if you were able to buy her before she got locked in the marketplace, I'd say go ahead and max her out and use her as well. She is very good on defense and actually just a very good point guard overall. So in meta, I'd say she definitely is, in terms of the skills that she can give you, is on meta level, and she can go toe to toe with them. It's just that, you know, she's not really used as much as others. So if you do have her, if you have her unlocked, make sure to use BoA. I do recommend it. Anyways guys, that's it for this video. I hope it's been helpful. I hope that it's been entertaining in some way. And I'll catch you on the next one.
Mm-hmm.